Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GameTube, and welcome back to our Five Nights at Freddy's character concept series. So in today's video, the character we're looking into is the Compy Crew. So we're looking into these three individual characters' backstory, gameplay mechanics, location, and all that good stuff as well. As always, I will just state that this isn't linked to the overall universe and lore of FNAF. This is just a fun, cool, creepy story we get to tell, and we hope you enjoy. And lastly, do be sure to subscribe to GameTube as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. It also keeps you updated with the videos that we post. Alrighty everyone, well, let's look into the character concept of the Compy Crew. So far in our FNAF character concept series, we've explored the Jolly Jurassic Pizzeria. A dinosaur-themed pizzeria filled with prehistoric attractions and characters. So far we've met Roger Rex, Ruby Raptor, Spike the Spinosaurus, Murphy the Mosasaurus, and Timmy the Pterodactyl. Each of these crazed animatronics have their own twisted backstory and reasons for attacking the player. Throughout this series, our Night Guard character has done their best to fend off these frightening characters. Each night they've lived to see another shift. But with another night shift comes another character. Or should I say 3 characters? And these characters are the Compy Crew. The Compy Crew was comprised of 3 miniature characters. These characters were simply named Greenie, Goldie, and Red. The Compy Crew were by far the smallest characters at the Jolly Jurassic Pizzeria. So these 3 pint-sized characters were modelled after the miniature dinosaur Compsognathus,
Compsognathus.
Considering the original name was quite hard to pronounce, the engineers opted to just call them the Compies. Each of these little characters had a snout with rows of pointy teeth, and due to their small stature, they had different joints and mechanics to the other larger characters. And because of their small size, they were quite fast and nimble. They were also able to access small areas that others couldn't. So their role at the pizzeria was cleaning and clearing all the tables. After the guests had finished eating their meals, the Compy Crew would collect all the dirty plates and cups and return them back to the kitchen. All the dirty dishes would go in the dishwasher, and the trash would go in the large trash compactor. They worked as quite the efficient team. They proved to be much more effective than any human worker could be. After all, they never needed holidays, sick leave, or healthcare. They were the perfect worker. Once they were done for the night, they would return back to their charging bays. This is where they would rest until the next shift would start again. Unlike the other characters who were put into free roam mode, the Compies would stay in their charging bays overnight. So overall, the Compies were a great addition to the Jolly Jurassic team. Not only did the children like these funny little characters, but they proved to be very helpful to all the employees and the business. But one unfortunate accident would change all of this. So it was a normal day as any. The Jolly Jurassic Band was playing on stage, and the guests were all having a great time. The children had finished all their pizza and sodas, and now it was time for the Compy Crew to get to work. Red would always be able to hold the most dirty dishes, whereas Goldie would always be able to carry tall stacks of cups. When it came to Greenie, they would always be picking up candy wrappers and soda cans and any other pieces of trash. Each of the Compies played an integral role to keep the pizzeria nice and clean. After all the tables were cleaned, the workers would usually walk around and give them a spray and wipe down. After all, the manager didn't quite trust the small little animatronics using cleaning chemicals. In the kitchen, the Compies were busy loading the dishes into the washer, and loading the trash into the compactor. After that, their job was done until the next lunchtime schedule. Whilst they waited, the Compies would usually come out and greet the guests as well. Although their job wasn't to necessarily entertain, their appearance was still fun and friendly enough for all the children to still play with them and pat them on the head as they laughed. So the day was going fine until one of the guests started crying. Apparently they left their dental retainer on one of the tables and it must have got collected up by the Compies. If it was collected by Greenie, then it surely would have been thrown in the trash compactor. The workers spent hours searching through the compactor but couldn't find it anywhere. Eventually, the restaurant had to close. The staff told the parents that they would let them know if they ever found it. The Compies felt awful about this. Greenie didn't mean to add it to the garbage. But the staff all knew it was only an accident. When the doors were shut and the employees left for the day, all the Compies returned to their charging bays. Greenie powered down, and then Goldie. Just as Red was about to turn in for the night and charge up, they saw something. There it was, the retainer. It was just laying in the garbage inside the compactor. Red decided to climb into the compactor and fish it out for themselves. Just as they did, the night guard wandered into the kitchen. They were finishing a can of soda just before starting their night shift. They tossed in the empty can in the compactor and pressed the crush button. The machine sprang to life as the large metal compactor drove down and crushed all the garbage. They heard a loud metal crushing sound, but they just thought there was lots of soda cans in there maybe. Thinking nothing of it, they wandered out of the room. The loud metal sound wakes up Greenie and Goldie. They turn their heads and see the guard wandering out of the kitchen. They then turn their heads back and look at the compactor. Sticking out of the top of the trash pile was a severely damaged Red. Goldie and Greenie rushed over and dove inside the trash compactor. The sharp metal cans and crushed garbage tore away their outer skins as they retrieved the damaged body of Red. As soon as they pulled out their withered, crushed body from the compactor, all they could do was mourn their lost friend. Filled with rage, all they could think about was making the damn night guard pay for what they have done. Greenie and Goldie swear they will return the favour and crush the night guard just as they did their poor little Red. So now we come to the gameplay segment of the video. Throughout this series, the gameplay loop has always been based around the classic FNAF formula of observation and management. So whilst keeping an eye out for the other characters, they also need to keep an eye out for Greenie and Goldie. Their starting position was always in the kitchen. In classic FNAF fashion, the kitchen camera would be disabled. Although there was no visual, there was still audio. Whenever the player hears the sound of little feet scurrying along the tiled floor, that's when they knew they were both on the move. Due to their small size, both Greenie and Goldie would make their way through the vents and try to attack the player. Greenie would appear from the left vent and Goldie would appear from the right. Whenever the player sees either of them, they would need to use the helpomatic and X-ray scan them to stun them. This worked on the small endoskeleton living inside of Murphy, so it was bound to work on the Compies. On some rare occasions, if the player ever hears the sound of sparks, they would need to act immediately. This would mean that the disfigured body of Red would be making their way through the vents. Whenever the player sees Red, they would have to act differently. Instead of scanning them, they would need to stay perfectly still. Considering they had no eyes, they couldn't be stunned with the helpomatic. The player just needs to stay still in order to not make any sounds. Soon, Red will think that no one is there and eventually leave. But this could cause trouble if any characters are at the door. If you can't move and close the doors, then they'll jump scare you instead. But if the player can't keep up with the Compies in their attempts to enter the office, then they too will greet the player with a classic FNAF jump scare. So I think the Compies would be an interesting addition to the Jolly Jurassic Pizzeria. The gameplay mechanics of 3 individual little characters would definitely put the pressure on the player. Their creepy, disfigured look would also add to the overall fear of the situation. They would definitely keep the player on their toes and deliver a fair amount of jump scares. Alrighty everyone, well that's what we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. Also, let us know in the comment section down below what you thought of the Compy Crew and what you'd like to see going forward. Alrighty everyone, well, until the next video, catch you later, bye.